You know what? There are a bunch of words in Japanese that you don't learn in the classroom. If you know from a previous video, I'll put the card up here. I explained how I learnt Japanese, and I studied for about 4 to 5 years throughout my junior high school and senior high school years. And when I came to Japan, I noticed that there were a bunch of words that little kids knew and that I had been hearing for the first time despite my many hours of study. To be fair, I knew some words that they didn't know, but it still didn't make me feel any better, because how can a little 10-year-old know more than me, who's been studying for 4 to 5 years with my head in the books? And, it got to me. Anyway, I thought I'd make a little video about it because, you know what, those words aren't just, there are a bunch of words that are only used by kids, like mummy or, poo-poo or whatever. And those words are kind of different. I'm talking about words that are actually used by adults, but for some reason, we don't get taught in school when we're studying. They're not deemed either important enough, or maybe they're just not part of the curriculum for whatever reason. They're probably not as important as some of the other words, but there are probably cases where we do learn some words that aren't all that important or very commonly used, but we have to memorize them anyway, especially in the case of studying for things like the J or PT. Before I get into the video and the list of words that I have, I want to say hello to my new subscribers and new viewers. Welcome. I'm John. I live in Nagoya, Japan. I've been here for about 13 years, but the first time I came to Japan was all the way back in 1998. And at the end of every video, I do something called Word of the Day, which is a word related to what we've spoken about here during the video, and I'll explain it to you and you can hear its pronunciation and so on. So make sure you stick around till the end of the video if you want to learn a new Japanese word while you're here. Okay, let's get right into it. So the first word I have on my list, I have to check my screen over here, is Danboru. Danboru. This means cardboard. You order something from Amazon and you get a big box, usually a bit too big for what's inside. I remember getting a box that was about like this big and it only had like a little pencil in there or something. I'm exaggerating, but I think everyone's experienced that and it still happens. Anyway, so Danboru is cardboard. Okay, and little kids know this. I mean, I've got a little kid and she has known this word forever. Danboru, and I never learnt it in high school when I was studying Japanese, and I did 3-unit Japanese, which is the highest level of Japanese in high school. And I also studied a bit in university and it didn't come up. Okay, next word, again related to the rubbish kind of thing, because Danboru comes up when you're separating trash in Japan. Petto Botoru. Petto Botoru. I had no idea what that was when I first heard it. I mean, I could put it together because when someone said, oh, PET, like pet, I was like, oh, I knew PET for some reason, because that does come up in the context of recyclables or plastics, but I had never learnt the word pet bottle in high school. The next one is related to transport, and it's Teikiken. Teikiken. I didn't know the word Teikiken when I was studying Japanese in high school, and if I saw the kanji, I'd probably be able to take a stab at it and, figure out what it is. I mean, ken is ticket, so it's not that bad. By the way, Teikiken is a ticket that you can buy for a certain period of time, like it's valid for 3 months or a month or a year or whatever. And you just show that, or you bleep that on the bleeper on the ticket gates and you can get through. It's usually used by employees and students, and the company will usually pay you for one if you're an employee. So you'll show them where you live and they'll calculate the cost of travel between work and your home, and they'll give you an allowance every month to purchase a Teikiken. Anyway, that was another word that I didn't know before coming to Japan. Another one, okay, let's go to something like stationery. Something like grid paper, you would think is pretty easy, right? I didn't know the word for grid paper or grid notebook or whatever it's called. We just call it grid paper in Australia. It's Hogan Noto in Japan. And I mean, you might have a different experience. Maybe you learnt it in school. I didn't. Please let me know in the comments if some of these are things that came up in your classroom in Japanese class, because obviously things change over time. As you probably know from my previous videos, I studied Japanese a very long time ago, and maybe things have changed. Maybe these are taught in the classroom these days, but that's another one. Let's have a look. Another one is to do with, probably this will come up if you're either in a school or in a work setting. Chore. Chore is a morning meeting. Okay, and it happens every morning. And that's another one that I had never heard of until I came here and I started working in a Japanese company. Chore. Another one, let's see. Going back to, this is probably kind of related to the grid paper. It's kind of mathematics. It's kind of related to maths. Shōsūten. Shōsūten is a very easy word, which I knew when I was a little kid in high school in Australia. I was like a little teenager and I knew this word. It's decimal point. Decimal point is a bloody easy word and it's an important one. You need to know the word for decimal point. And this is something I didn't learn in all my years of Japanese study. Let's have a look at the next word. Here's one that you'd think everyone would know, and it's the word for swing. Swing as in the playground equipment. Everyone's been on one, everyone knows what one is. It's not something that's specific to Japan, so why don't we learn it when we're studying Japanese? It's just Buranko. Buranko. So that's another one. Let's see what's next on the list. Onomatopoeia. Something I wish, if I could give any kind of feedback to my teachers back in high school, I would just request that you taught us a little bit more Japanese onomatopoeia. It comes up all the bloody time. We don't use it so much in English, but in Japanese, it's how sentences are made more visual or impactful. I'm not sure what the best word is to say what I'm trying to say, but if you're studying Japanese or if you speak a bit of Japanese, you'll know what I'm talking about. Without onomatopoeia, Japanese sounds very formal or flat. It's not very vibrant. And if you want to make something a bit more active, a bit more dynamic, you add a little sprinkle of onomatopoeia and the language comes to life. So a couple of words that I'll mention here as an example are guru guru or kira kira or pion pion. And let's just quickly go over those. Pion pion is like when you're hopping around. So there's a verb for hopping around or jumping around, tobu or haneru. But adding pion pion helps your brain to actually visualize someone hopping around like a rabbit. It's funny how it works, but it works. That's how the language is. Guru guru is something that's just going round and round in circles. What's the other one? Kira kira is something that's shining or glittering, like the stars. You could just say hikatteru or kagayaiteru. They're verbs that say shining or sparkling, but adding kira kira, it helps you visualize. It's like, for me, I don't know if this is the case for everyone. Let me know if it's not. Let me know how you interpret this stuff. But for me, onomatopoeia helps your brain to just visualize things, whereas language can sometimes leaves a bit of a gap between what you're hearing and what your brain is processing. When you throw in an onomatopoeia in there, your brain the gap is kind of made smaller. And so your brain can more easily visualize something. Anyway, that's all I have for now. And please let me know. I'm really curious to know. I know a lot of you out there are studying Japanese or, thinking about studying or are just interested in the language. I'm curious to know what your experience is with this. Are there words that I haven't mentioned that you've experienced? Moving to Japan, after coming to Japan, you're like, why don't I know that word? It's a very simple word. I think there's quite a few of them. I mean, I just came up with these in a few minutes. If I were to sit and think for hours and hours and hours or weeks, I'd probably come up with hundreds of words. Anyway, that's all for this episode. And as promised, because we've come to the end of the episode, it's time for Word of the Day. Today's Word of the Day is going to be related to words and education, obviously, but I'm just going to go with something simple that's connected to learning Japanese, and that's kyoshitsu, and that just means classroom. Kyo means to teach, and shitsu means room. So kyoshitsu is classroom. Anyway, that's all from me for today. In my next video, which will be coming up in the next week or so, it's going to be about Japanese words that start coming to you automatically after a while. After you've been living in Japan for maybe, a few months or a couple of years, you'll notice that some words or expressions start coming to you automatically, and they will actually come out before English or before your mother language. So I'm going to come up with a list of those, and if you have any that you want me to cover in the next video, leave a comment down below with any words that now come to you automatically without even thinking before your mother language, and I'll be sure to include them in the next video, and I'll give you a little shout out as well. Anyway, that's all from me for today. If you want to support the channel and you liked it and you got some value out of it, please don't be shy. Make sure you like the video, and if you don't want to miss out on my next video and you want to get notified so you can catch it as soon as it comes out, make sure you subscribe to my channel and also share my video with your friends. Why not? It really helps me out. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll catch you at the next one. Bye for now.